coach, and I help visionary women to release subconscious blocks so that they can elevate into their next level of income and impact. And I'm so excited today to introduce an incredible woman who we connected over social media. And I'm just so grateful to have her here, Dr. Danielle Perodin. So welcome to the Illuminated Feminine series. If you want to just kind of quickly introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your journey, whatever feels good to share right now.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to connect with you. I feel like it was a long time coming.
Yeah. Here we are.
I'm Danielle Perodin. I'm a style and image coach. I'm helping rising leaders to connect with their authentic self, to show up confidently and consistently, to make a bigger impact on the world. So I love working with women who are, trying to make an impact. So I'm a pharmacist as well. So we have that in common. I've been a pharmacist for 15 years. I'm married. I have 3 kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter and 11-year-old twin boys. So they always keep me on my toes. But so I feel like this was really a long time coming for us to connect.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brian McElderry, because that's what we found each other. And through the law of attraction, I feel like we're definitely on the same frequency as far as the things that we're that we really believe in. And so maybe you can just start off by sharing a little bit about, before we even got on this Facebook Live, we were talking a little bit about your transition from, in the past, maybe not really, ascribing to like the energy realm and Dr. Joe Dispenza and all of that. Like, tell me a little bit more about what that transition was and how that's impacted your life.
Yeah, so I was always really a skeptic about the law of attraction and the energy work and whatever that woo-woo stuff was.
Yeah.
I just always looked at everything in a very scientific way, especially like when healing, because I just remember in pharmacy school them teaching us about quackery and quacks. And so I always, was super skeptical until I really started. I had, of course, there's always this line in the sand that you draw whenever things are so bad that you just will kind of try anything. At that point, I was in a mild depression. I can look back now and say that that's what it was. I had isolated myself. I was doing social distancing before it was cool. And I was really
relate to that. Yep.
I was really in a bad place and I was really stuck. And so I was really willing to try anything. And I started with law of attraction. I started studying law of attraction, if that's such a thing, but I started actually sharing it with others and teaching it. And I was just open to it at the time. And I had read a book by Gabrielle Bernstein. It was The Universe Has Your Back.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it resonated so much with me. It gave me so much hope. So I was just open to start looking for the signs in my life. And once I became present and aware and open to it, then the signs just started showing up. And then eventually I just couldn't deny it.
Yeah. So tell me about when was that timeline? Was that, you said, a couple of years ago?
That was a few years ago where I felt like I was stuck in the hamster wheel on the treadmill, living Groundhog Day over and over and over again. It was just miserable. I had the perfect life on paper, and I really did. Looking back now, I wasn't present. I wasn't living on purpose. I wasn't in gratitude. And so, I was looking for external sources to give me the happiness instead of looking inwards. And so that's why, even though I had all of the things, I didn't have that happiness and that joy. But that was about 3 years ago. I was promoting some products, some beauty products, and I wanted to get it out there. I was learning that you needed to build a know, love, trust with your audience. And I hadn't been showing up. I was the type of person that went on Facebook or on social media and just kind of like creeped on everybody's page and didn't share anything of myself. Mm-hmm. And so as I started, I decided I was going to teach as I learned the law of attraction. And of course, anytime you teach something, you learn it on a whole different level. Yeah. And so I really just incorporated it into my whole being, and my life just started to improve one day at a time. It's just an incredible transformation. And then, of course, I want to share it with everyone.
Well, yeah. And I feel like that's so encouraging for people right now who are watching, and maybe they're in that space where they're feeling fearful or depression or heaviness or whatever that is. So knowing that there is a way out, and a lot of this work, and, you know, I have our boy Joe Dispenza here. This is the best book ever. My strategic Ascension group, they're like, he's on a first name basis. We're like, yeah, Joe. But I did want to bring some of that into, you know, weaving that into our discussion today, because I feel like that work is so important. So even, you know, the law of attraction, this book describes how energy actually works and how you can change your electromagnetic field to draw experiences into your reality. And one of the biggest things that you talked about was kind of like that transition from kind of being on the hamster wheel, being in survival mode is what Joe Dispenza calls it, where we're in a constant state of like almost a suffering loop where we have certain thoughts that we've been programmed with since birth. And, you know, from 0 to 7, we are ingrained with all of those our subconscious blueprint, and being able to reshape the way that we think is going to kind of cause like this domino effect where if you change your thoughts, you're going to react differently and you're going to create a new identity. So he goes as far as to say your thoughts create your emotions, which create your belief system. And once you believe something long enough, it becomes your identity. So really being able to shift from being in that survival mode of thinking the same thoughts, which I'm sure you can relate, you know, and concur on that, that when we start to change the way that we're thinking, that really creates all of this open space, and we can release the past. It creates this open space for creation. And that's the other side of it. So you have the survival and the creation. So can you speak a little bit to that, you know, what that might have looked like when you were in that survival mode?
Absolutely. The survival mode was exactly what it sounds like. I was surviving each day. It was going to work, waking up in a negative mood, feeling negative, not wanting to go to work, thinking about all the things that could happen when I'm at work, just trying to get through the day, feeling exhausted by 2 p.m., having very little energy. I had a lot of memory loss. I found like short-term memory loss. I couldn't think of names, and that was frustrating to me. And I was just always frustrated. And then I would come home and, you know, they had all the chores that I need to be done at home, the laundry, seeing about the kids, the homework. And it just felt like I was just in that survival mode. There was no creation. There was no passion, energy, joy. It was just trying to survive the day, literally. And then it became surviving the week, you know, Monday through Fridays, live for the weekend, then try to survive for the month, the year. It just, all these years were passing me by. And I just knew that I wasn't thriving. And I yearned for that so much because, you know, you and I had talked about, I survived quite a bit of loss whenever I was younger. And so I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to live like a very fulfilled life. I wanted to find purpose. Right whenever I got out of pharmacy school, another pharmacist had recommended a book, Purpose Driven Life. And so I just always had that in the back of my mind that this isn't right. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I kept having that voice telling me that, but I didn't know any other way. I wasn't taught any other way. So until I started looking for clues and signs and just taking the next steps, it's like I was guided to this work. And it's so meaningful and it's so life transforming. Now I have energy. Once I was able to release some of those thoughts I was holding on to, I had this newfound energy. And I mean, once you have that, you can't go back to that old way. It's not even an option.
Exactly. Oh my God. I love so many things that you said. Purpose-driven life. My aunt recommended that to me. I think it was 2012 or 13. And so I feel like there's definitely some themes with the books that we attract, and, you know, and especially with this work too, just how things come into your life. And secondly, what I wanted to say was, I love how you highlighted the openness, because that's really, when you're open, that's really when things start to show up in your life and you connect with certain people, you take that aligned action, and you're really able to operate not from survival, but from a space of just openness and willingness, which I think is, if anybody out there is feeling stuck in survival mode right now, I totally get that. The first step is really openness, allowing yourself to be open and willing and to surrender maybe some of the past things that you took as truths. And I just posted about that the other day, about transformation is really deprogramming, right? All of those things that we've held as truths. And it's everything that you've absorbed from childhood, your belief system, the way that you see yourself, your identity. So that's a lot of the work that I do. And I'm sure you do too with transformation. It's so powerful. So I love your story. And I wanted to touch upon too, in the same vein, talking about the gap between the way that we appear to the external world versus how we feel inside, and that authenticity, which is really what this topic was about, you know, reconnecting to yourself. So how can you reconnect to yourself when you're feeling like there's this disparity between how you appear to the external world compared to how you feel inside? What do you feel like are some of those things that can help somebody reconnect to who they truly are?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it quite a few times. You kept saying the words willingness and willing.
Yeah.
And what I'm finally realizing is that we get these moments in time where we get this like burst of energy, like small little windows of just, you know, being open. And then what happens is, if you don't take action, because we have free will, so we have to choose. So it's almost like these small bits of enlightenment, and then we get to choose, do we want to change or do we want to stay the old self? And if we don't take action, then, you know, we just go back and live that same day over and over again. But when the beauty is, whenever you step into free will and you decide and you say, I will change, I am ready. And then that's really when it opens up. And so you can open up for expansion.
Oh, that's beautiful. I just got chills all down my legs.
And so it's all about authenticity. So we all have our inner self that is our true highest self. It's our full potential. It's what has always been there ever since we were born, since we were a child, before we can even, you know, we were fully awakened. So it's there, and it's beauty, and we have beauty in all of us. It's all beauty. We just don't always see it, but we hide that from the rest of the world because it's vulnerable and it's scary. So we have this persona that we appear to the world, and a lot of it has to do with our culture, our parents, how they raised us, our siblings, what the role you played with your siblings in schools, teachers. So all of these layers get put on top of that.
Yeah.
And so if you almost imagine yourself as an onion, you have all these layers. And so the work that I do, and I'm sure that you do as well, is that you just take those layers and you peel them off one by one. And those layers are really limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So once you get down to your true and expose that true inner being, and you close that gap between how you're appearing, then it's like, I just say it's just game on. That's where the ease starts, because you're no longer thinking, you know, how do I look? Are they going to judge me? How do I compare to someone else? You're just in this pure essence of yourself, and you just know that it's God, it's light, it's source, and there's so much beauty in it. Like, you don't judge it anymore. You're not afraid that it's not enough anymore, because you just know it's so much. And we all have that. And so like whenever you and I connected, we were connecting on those two levels of your soul and my soul. And then it's just crazy. Crazy good. Oh gosh.
We promised a heart-centered conversation, and here it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You need to rewatch what you just said, because it was just it was divinely channeled through you.
Yeah.
Wow. I just have no words right now. I just feel like this is such a conversation that people need to hear. And when we open ourselves, when we're willing, when we don't close ourselves off to the possibility that, yes, underneath all of those layers that you were talking about is your pure potential. It is your soul self. And it's taking those layers of conditioning off so that you can really express why you were here. And so when you talk about purpose-driven life and soul purpose and all of that, that's really what the crux is. What I believe is at the center of like that ooey gooey, like what you came here to do. That is your soul purpose. And when you're living from that space, it's obvious. I can see it in you. I know that you are helping women so much with not only external beauty, but really that inner work as well, to help people realize that, yes, we have all of these, you know, the 3D physical world, but there's so much more depth in those spiritual layers where we can really tap into who we are authentically. And that's, I feel like, such a big part of your magic, is combining like the beauty, you know, the external beauty and how you feel, but also that inner work, the self-talk, all of that, which I think is so beautiful.
Yeah, what I'm starting to learn, and a lot, Joe Dispenza is helping me to come to this realization, is that it's all about the brainwaves and the quantum physics, and, you know, how are you materializing things. And so, you know, whenever you focus on one thing and it materializes, like you're focused on yourself, and that's why it's like yourself becomes like just too big. Your ego's so big, and it's just, you're focused on yourself, and you're focused on your flaws, and you're focused on the extra weight, or you're focused on all of these material things in your life. And until you change your brain waves, it really is scientific. It's brain waves. You can see the scans. That's when, you know, you can change that quantum moment in time and what you're focused on. And it's supposed to be on other people. We're supposed to give back to the environment, to other people. Like, we're a big ecosystem. And unfortunately, we've all gone inwards, and it's time that we just step out and try to help one another and connect. And I'm just like a big nerd. I love the science part of it. I'm learning it, but like, I just can't get enough of it. Like, I read at least 50 minutes every day. I try to do more if I can, but it's just, I can't absorb enough of this information. It's just, I'm so like magnetized to it. I just want to understand it, so then I can be the one to relay it in a understandable way to
Exactly.
someone who isn't in the science field, or maybe has been in the science field, and they think, you know, it's this veil that we have, and we think it's one way, but it's all perception. It's all through the lens that we're looking at it through. And I'm the first one. I've always been like this. I'm so hard-headed. Like, when I know something, I will tell you, like, no, I know it, and this is how it is. But I didn't realize that so much was filtered through my lens, and there's so much I didn't know.
Yeah. And I love that analogy of like seeing things through a different lens, because if you're wearing imagine wearing the wrong prescription, you can't see things clearly. And that's how we, you know, when we have these distortions laced about money or relationship or ourself, whatever those blocks are, that's what's preventing you from getting to, you know, that clarity, that pure state of being able to see clearly, oh, okay, this is really what I'm about, and this is my sole purpose and how I'm meant to be expressing myself in the world. And I feel like it really all does start with yourself, because that's where, you know, you can really hone in on your gifts and what you're meant to be doing out in the world. So I love that analogy. I think it's so important, because we might be living life a certain way and not even know that there are distortions there. And so having a coach or having somebody to lovingly reflect back to you, I call it like mirroring back. Hey, like, this is what I see. This is what's getting in the way. That's really powerful, because it's helping people to release a lot of that subconscious blueprint, those distortions that are preventing them from getting to whatever goal that is. So this work is awesome.
Yeah, it's so great whenever you can have someone in your corner that says, hey, this is what I see.
Yeah.
I see this, and I know that you're seeing in a different way, but let me show you how to get there.
Yeah, because sometimes you're just too close to yourself and you can't see it. And I feel like I feel like somebody out there is asking right now, like, how do I know if I have subconscious blocks? You'll see a pattern. Like, for me, it was eating disorder, 2 different eating disorders. I was attracting unavailable men. A lot of you out there know my story, but when you're seeing a cyclical pattern and it's repeated, then you're caught in a suffering loop. So certain thoughts, subconscious thoughts, are creating emotions. Maybe for you, it's anxiety or constant guilt. And Joe Dispenza talks about how we actually rely on those chemicals. So like, if you grew up feeling guilt, that is almost like, say that you're addicted to caffeine. When you take that away, that chemical away, your body's like, oh, like, where is it? Where, you know, your subconscious kicks in and it's like, well, I need to be feeling guilty. Yeah. So your subconscious is so powerful. It's 95% of everything that you do. So if we're not addressing that and really shifting those deeper layers, then we can't truly change, because we're trying to create a different outcome from the same level of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I went to a retreat this past year, and one of them that I uncovered was, I already knew that I had the unworthiness, so I've been working on that, but I recognized beyond the veil what the subconscious thoughts that were keeping me there. And it was based on past relationships where I felt that I needed to kind of lower myself to make others feel better.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of that. So I couldn't raise my vibe, raise my essence, I guess. If I was too successful, then someone else would suffer.
Yeah.
And so that was a block. And so I'd always like keep myself down just enough. So it's almost like that inner thermostat that just pushes you down, and you don't understand what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but your body is like really self-sabotage. And we all know that the self-sabotage is a real thing with weight loss, or, you know, with guys or whatever it is. There is a true self-sabotage, and we don't realize what it is, but it's biochemical. It's that addiction to that environment that your cells are used to being in. And then whenever you change your identity, there's just this identity crisis, is what I call it, where your body is just freaked out and it wants to protect itself, and it wants to be in what it's familiar with. And so then that's when it recreates those situations and it goes out looking for them.
Exactly. Oh, I can relate to that so much. Because I, like I said, I was dating all of these unavailable guys, and maybe one of them would be physically unavailable, or another one was emotionally unavailable. And I'm like, why? And, you know, in my 20s, I'm like, why am I attracting this over and over and over again? And it was, for me, it was a deep sense of not being lovable and a lot of shame from my childhood, because I was, and I still am, a very highly sensitive, I'm an empath, which I'm sure you are too, because we're having this conversation. And I was always suppressed. I was never allowed to express myself. And so I can relate to what you're saying, where like you had to play small and keep yourself contracted. And we don't always know what those things are. We just see the physical result or the physical symptom of self-sabotage. So maybe for you, it's like weight, or you're attracting the same person because your internal environment is reflected in your external environment. So unless we go in and see, all right, like what is that subconscious belief system that's gridding you into this old timeline? And I actually just did some timeline therapy with somebody over the weekend, where she was having, you know, some blocks around the same thing, like staying small all the time. So we went back in and realized what that earliest memory was, and took that energy out. I call it like a psychic surgery, taking that out, because it liberates you, right? We talked about survival and getting that energy out of your body for that creation. So it's really incredible once you start clearing that old, I call it your expired paradigm. I think of like expired milk. Like, why would you drink expired milk? So we're throwing that out.
We're throwing out the old milk. Yes. And like you said, it's the energy that's tied up into that old emotion that you keep feeding every day. And every day you wake up, you just remind yourself of who you've been and who you are. And so the problem is whenever you want to create something new in your life, you decide that now is the time for change. Now I'm going to take action. And then all that energy is still tied up in that subconscious. So you have to go behind the veil and release it. And then you have the energy for creation.
I love how you keep saying behind the veil, because that really makes sense to me. I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually just like transitioning to your punchline approach. I'm interested in that. Can you share a little bit more about what that is?
Yes. So the punchline approach is, it's the approach that we use in our community. So I'm in the More Than Mindset community, and it's 5 easy steps to create anything in your life. So you could apply it to any area. If it's finances, it's relationships, if it's occupational, if it's health. And so it just empowers you that you have tools that you can go to your toolbox and use. And so it's just an acronym, and the P is for presence. So as we know, the first step is always being present and just aware, shining light. And just once you have that awareness, then it's just, you have so much more energy. The next thing is unveil. So that's why I keep bringing up unveiling. It's that thin layer. It's that limiting belief. So how do you let go of that? So we work on unveiling limiting beliefs. And most of the time we don't know they're there. So like the ones that I worked on for myself, I had no clue they were there.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was thinking that I was unworthy, because I always thought I was the most positive person. I really did, until I tried to take some actions and I couldn't. So I had to go and investigate. The N is for navigating challenges and obstacles. So anytime you're trying to make a change in your life, you're going to attract shit. So it goes back to that chemical addiction that we were talking about. You're gonna attract obstacles. You're gonna get lose the job or attract the next guy. It's lose all your money. Just shit's gonna happen. And it's because you're trying to subconsciously protect yourself. And so we learn how to navigate through to keep going forward. And the C is for choose, commit, cultivate your environment, and then create. So it's just steps that you take to create the life that you want. And the H is my favorite part. It took me forever to figure this part out. I just wanted to know the how. Just tell me how and I will go do it. Like that's what my brain said. Just tell me how. And so we work with our clients to teach them how to figure it out intuitively, how to take the next step without knowing what's going to happen next. And the H is also for hire a coach, because if you want to speed up the process of creation, just hire a coach. It's so hard to do it on your own. And there's so much, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, and you need that support. You need that, just that hand holding and that grace.
I love that. And that last piece, a lot of, I meditate a lot, and a lot of what comes through for me is around when someone, and I think of it when you're watering a garden, right? If you put love into someone and you really support them, they're going to thrive. So I think of that, imagine if we're constantly, we're pouring love and support into our clients, they're naturally going to thrive. Yeah. So working with a coach is so imperative, because you want to have somebody in your corner who not only encourages you, but challenges you too, challenges those thoughts that, when you tell yourself you're not good enough or whatever that is. So that's just what I see. And I've seen it time and time again with so many women that I've worked with. It's just like this beautiful bouquet or this beautiful plant just blossoming. So I love that. I love that acronym. So that was from your mindset group?
More the mindset community.
That's awesome.
That's how I became trained in integrative life coaching before I ventured off into the styling. Well, I started venturing off in the styling before life coaching, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, ebb and flow, but it's so crazy. So now I'm a style and image coach. And so that's just the way I chose to help women, how to introduce them to this work.
That's so beautiful. I love what you do. I think it's really different. I don't know any other pharmacists doing that. So
there's a couple of pharmacists that are doing styling. What's special about what I'm doing is that I'm incorporating the coaching. So it's really, I'm styling their mind and the body at the same time. And so
the mind and the body.
I'm going to style it at the same time. And so it's just, there's so much work to be done with that. But I think it's very special. I've seen other coaching stylists that are doing the same approach. I think honestly, any stylist does have to go through this work, but not so much, not on the depth that I go.
Yeah.
I literally give you the tools. I show you how the energy is tied up and how to release it. And it's my process is called Be Her Now, and it's Be Here Now is how you do that. And so instead of, our brains are normally programmed to know, so then we learn and then we do and then we become. But what I teach to speed up the process is to know. So I share with them and teach them, but then she becomes. So she becomes first, and then she takes the action that's aligned to get the results in her life that she's trying to create.
So you're essentially lining up the energy and then taking action. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yes. So it's aligned action. So you're taking the right action to guide you where you're supposed to be. Yeah.
We're soulmates.
So good. And I mean, the reason I know that this is my calling and it's what I'm supposed to be doing is because I literally could just do this all day long. I don't have to eat. I don't need to sleep. Like I get this. Connecting with souls, working one-on-one, connecting with other coaches. Like I could just talk this all day long. And if I'm ever in a slump where I'm feeling down, I just look to see who is rising and I connect with them. So that energy is contagious. So I just feed off of their energy and feed my soul.
Oh, this is a beautiful energetic exchange. I'm so grateful that you came on today. How can people connect with you? Speaking of connecting.
All right. So if you want to join my group, it's called Style Your Mind and Body by Danielle. That's on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn under Dr. Danielle Paradin. You can find me there. I have a website. It's danielleparadin.biz. You could take a quiz. I have a style quiz that looks at your Enneagram and how you're showing up. So that's a little fun thing if you want to do. But I mean, really just message me and let's connect. I love connecting with women. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely reach out to her. And I look forward, hopefully we can do this again. I would love to do another Facebook Live with you. You have so much knowledge. And I swear we are definitely soulmates, except I have a New York accent. You have a Louisiana accent.
We're the yin and the yang.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And everybody make sure you reach out to Danielle and you connect with her. And I will see you on the next next episode of the Illuminated Feminine series.
Thank you again. Thanks so much.